Stop listening to your head and start listening to your heart. Hey, I'm Dave Swartz, and welcome to another episode of Dose of Dave. So today I want to talk about one of my daily practices, something that I've been doing a lot recently, but more specifically, the type of this particular thing that I've been doing. So every day I do a series of spiritual practices, one of which is meditation. Now you can meditate all different kinds of ways. There's probably infinite ways that you can meditate. There's guided meditations that you can find online. There is, meditations where it takes you inside into the deepest part of who you are. It takes you outside into like the biggest, most macro, cosmic kind of expression of who we are. But then the type of meditation that I've been working with a lot recently, something that I've had some experience with in the past, but recently I feel like I've been called to practice this specific type of meditation called heart space meditation. So the goal of heart space meditation is to literally do that, to go inside of the space of your heart. Because after all, the heart in and of itself, it's a muscle, but there are empty spaces within it. And one of the things that I think a lot of people don't realize is that the heart is actually the first thing of our bodies to grow. It's the first thing, it's where we develop out of. So if you want to think about it this way, the space that original kind of clump of cells that was you at one point is still in there. There's still a space inside of your heart in which the original cells that created your body came from, still is there. And that's the space that creation came out of, right? So what the heart space meditation aims to do is to go inside of that space and to find the wisdom, the inner wisdom, I should say, of the human body, of the knowledge that we carry with us as we make these different incarnations throughout time and space. So from my perspective, what I was doing originally was I was trying to move my conscious awareness of who I am, which is typically up in your head. Most of us, I think, would agree that when you would be asked to say, where is you? Where do you consciously sort of exist within your body? I think most people would say inside their brain, It's not like at least I don't think most people do this. Maybe some people out there do this, where they say like, well, I'm in my hand, like I'm mostly in my hand, the rest of the body is what it is, but I'm mostly my hand. It's not necessarily, I think, the universal experience. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to move my conscious awareness from my head down into my heart. And I have had some experience with that. Like I said before, I had actually one experience where I did feel as though I was kind of lowering down into a space of my heart, which was a very cool story. However, I've recently been told that I shouldn't try to do that. What I should try to do instead is actually visualize the idea of my heart opening and kind of not necessarily moving my experience down or my awareness down, but allowing my awareness to kind of come out from my heart space. And in a way, almost like calming my mind down to allow my heart to kind of open and have some space. Because a lot of times, I think a lot of us are overcome by the thoughts that are racing through our minds, the scenarios that we kind of dream up of to play out some inevitability that we may be afraid of, or try to replay something that happened in our past in order to get a better kind of cathartic kind of expression of what happened. So the mind oftentimes is trying to trap you and keep you in these cycles of replaying the past or trying to plan for the future. But the heart doesn't do that. The heart is just in the moment. The heart I would like to say that the heart is a little bit more wise in the sense that it's not trapped within this egoic kind of identity. It goes beyond just the singular incarnation we find ourselves in. It can connect not only to the rest of conscious awareness, but it can be a conduit for you to then connect to all of that conscious awareness. So the goal within this meditation that I've been doing is to connect to that heart space, calm the constant sort of chatter of the mind, and listen to the voice of your heart. Because the heart does have a voice, and the heart is very different than the head. The head works in the language of judgment. If you are listening to the voice in your head, you're oftentimes just listening to judgments, constant, assessment of the situation, assessment of the people, assessment of yourself, assessment of the actions that are being observed, the constant sort of, understanding logically of the world, devoid of the emotional side, which is where the heart exists, more just the emotional expression of the moment. And with the heart in and of itself is only trying to support you and love you. It's not trying to judge you. So the language of the heart is more, I like to say, passion. It reminds you what you're passionate about. It reminds you what you love. It reminds you that you are love and support. So when I do this meditation every day, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to connect to that, and I'm trying to ask the heart, my heart, for some guidance, for some wisdom. It's infinitely wise, and it will tell you exactly what you need to hear in that moment. And sometimes it won't if you're asking something that you're not ready for. I know for me, one of the things I've been trying to do is to connect with my individual spirit guides. I was also told recently that I can connect to individual incarnations of my spirit guides, not them as a collective, because up until this point, I've sort of just been visualizing them as a collective, not really giving them identities. So I'm kind of trying, I'm very interested in trying to identify who each one of my spirit guides are so I can connect to them closer and thus connect to that energy more effectively. So in this practice, what I've been trying to do is, just expand my knowledge. And I recently had an experience where I asked my heart if I could do that. And my heart responded, no, you need to take it a step at a time. You can't jump ahead. That's oftentimes what I find myself doing. I'm so excited about something that I want to jump ahead. But I oftentimes have to take a step back and be reminded that every process takes it a step at a time. You can't just go from A to Z. You have to go A, B, C, D. So what I've done recently is I've been trying to just allow my heart to say what it wants to say. Not try to, say, I want to do this and let me help me do this. Just giving it space to speak and being open to listening, because that's the other side of the equation. You can't just say, I make space for you to speak, and then not be open to listening to what they're saying. And that goes true for, any kind of communication that we have, especially the heart. So for me, I have to hold that energy of listening as well, and truly try to focus on the voice of my heart and not my head. And now let me tell you how to do that. So the most effective way that I found to do this type of meditation is to start with the breath and then move into your heartbeat. So what I do first is get into a meditative position where your back is straight, supported. You can be in a chair, you can be sitting, whatever's comfortable for you. I typically use a beanbag because I typically like to be on the floor, but I don't really do well on the floor, so I need a little bit more support, so a beanbag helps. So then what I do is I focus on my breath. I close my eyes and I just focus on the exhale and the inhale at first, and that allows for the mind to begin to calm. It may not completely quiet the mind. You may find that your mind is continuing to chatter as you do this, and that's okay. That's kind of, I think, part of the point is that you need to hold a space of non-judgment for yourself. Oftentimes I found that when I get into these meditations in the past and I focus too much on what my mind is saying, I tend to start feeling feelings of judgment. Why the hell can't I calm my mind? Why aren't you calming down? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? That's the language of the mind, remember. That is judgment. That is actually the mind trying to keep you from doing this, to keep you from quieting it down. So don't hold any judgment for yourself. If anything, forgive yourself in that moment and let it go. If you do this enough, you will start to calm the mind down enough that you can actually start to feel your heartbeat. And that's the next step, is move from your breath into feeling the actual beating of your heart in your chest. And after you do that for long enough, then what I do is I move my awareness from my heart, not just into my heart, but into all the other blood vessels that are connected to that heart and that are surging blood through my entire body. And that's what really starts to tune yourself into the heart. When you can connect to the feeling of blood running through every vein in your body, and remember, there's a lot. Blood courses through your entire body. I'm not necessarily sure, I'm not a scientist or a biologist, if the brain can say the same. If the brain can say, I'm part of the entire body, as much as the heart can say it is. So after you do that for long enough, what it starts to happen is your brain really quiets down. You do get into a space of void, blackness, of just pure nothingness. However, within that, if you make space for your heart, if you visualize in your mind, this is what I want to do, I want to speak with my heart, the heart will then begin to speak. And at first it may seem a little weird. It may seem like, I'm not really sure if this is, a voice. But again, if you can do this effectively enough, it is profound. It is something you know when you hear it. And if you allow it to speak, if you make space for it to speak and you truly are listening, it will be as if it is a disembodied voice speaking to you. You aren't completely, because when you're talking, you kind of know what you're going to say next. You have an intuition as to what you're going to say next. With this, it's not exactly that. It's almost like you're allowing something to channel through you, and you're not consciously thinking about it. Because as soon as you start to consciously think about it, as soon as you start to engage your brain again, that's what takes you back up into your brain. Starts you judging again, starts you trying to question, is this real? Is this not? Am I, doing this effectively? Am I not? Again, when you start getting into that cycle, that's the language of the mind, judgment. So, for beginners out there, what I would suggest is just start with the breath. Really try to get that down. And then once you get the breath down, then you can start to move into the heart. And for me, I do this every day. I'm very, very passionate about it. So I'm very dedicated to it. And one of the last things that I do that kind of help me with this is I journal about the experience afterwards. So every day I get a message from my heart and I jot it down in a little journal. And it could be a couple of sentences. It could be in 2 or 3 pages. Some days are short, sweet, and some days are, like an entire kind of download into my brain. So, but it helps to then reflect upon that and kind of read through some of the, messages that you've gotten before, because it's kind of like a dream. If you don't journal it or write it down, it's going to escape you and it's kind of hard to hold on to. So that's why I find it's good to end the experience by just sort of writing down some notes. That way it makes it more real. Again, everything is energy. So if you're coming at this practice with pure intention, with pure passion for it, you're not trying to judge yourself. You do it with pure understanding that what you're doing is effective, it is transformative, and it is helping you. That energy of it itself that you hold only makes it that much more powerful, that much more strong, and that much more connected to it after you're done with the meditation. Because I only do this, I only meditate for maybe like 15, 20 minutes in the morning. And that in and of itself just propels me into a wholly different space in my day. You know, a lot of us, we start our day out by hitting the alarm clock, rushing out the door, working as hard as we can, and then we come home and we're exhausted. We have no time. We've made no time in the beginning of our day to connect ourselves to who we really are. We've given ourselves away to all these other things. And we continue sometimes to do that when we get home. So we all need to make some time and some space to love ourselves, to treat ourselves with that love, and to hold that space for ourselves, because if we don't, nobody else will. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. As always, you can follow me on my social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Insta, and here on YouTube. Dave Swartz Art is my handle. I'm super excited about a new crowdfunding campaign that I'm going to be starting here pretty dang soon. February 9th is the launch date. It's a campaign that's going to raise money to print the first 3 issues of my new story, Confederate Monster. So I'm super excited to get that out there and, you know, get that, you know, in front of you so that you guys can actually get the book in front of your hands. I know that digital comics is nice, but it's always nice to have a physical book in your hand that you can read. So check out for that, coming soon, very soon. Okay, guys, other than that, you know, make sure if you haven't checked out my podcast that I do with my partner, Rainbow Liz, you can check it out on Spotify, on Instagram, or wherever you get your podcast. It's called Higher Consciousness. We all just sort of hang out and smoke a joint and talk about the same kind of things that we talk about here on Dose with Dave. Okay, so as always, we're going to end with a little bit of dancing, and hope that you guys make it a great day. Take care.